As this book has come out most recently, a number of people have asked me why I wrote this book, what was behind it, what led me to write on this topic. It reminded me of something I read in C.S. Lewis' book, Chronicles of Narnia. Somebody asked him that question, why do you write the kind of books you write? And his answer was kind of interesting. He says, I simply write the kind of books that I want to read. And that's why I wrote this book. It's the kind of book that I want to read. It's the kind of book I've wanted all of my life. I've always wanted to find answers to some of the challenges we face in life. How do we make sense of them? How do we move through these trials and challenges and difficult experiences of life in the most productive ways? And even though this is a challenging and difficult topic in some ways, I've discovered that there are some really positive principles that are very, very helpful in making sense of our trials, setbacks, and negative surprises. We've all been told, probably from the time we were small, that our difficulties in life are there to make us grow and learn and become better people. And I've discovered that all depends. That all depends on how we make sense of those experiences. Because what happens is we have these experiences, we all do, and then we make sense of them. We explain them. We try to understand them. We try to answer our own questions as to why is this happening? What does it mean? And sometimes the way we make sense of it is very helpful. And sometimes the way we make sense of those things is not helpful at all and actually makes things worse. We just compound our pain, the experience itself just continues to roll on, our stress increases, our tension builds, and what began as a very difficult experience is just sort of snowballs, if you will. Reminds me of something a philosopher said back in 500 AD, I think, Epictetus. He said, speaking of our experiences and what we make them mean, he said, we are not disturbed by what happens to us, but by our thoughts about what happens to us. So think about that. It's not the experience itself that disturbs us or troubles us or stresses us or worries us or keeps us awake at night. It's not the experience. It's not the event. It's how we think about it. It's our thoughts about those events. It's what we make them mean. The stories we tell, if you will. And a number of things in this book, stories that I tell and the experiences that I've had and that other people that I know have had help illustrate that point in, I think, some very productive ways. The publisher asked me when I provided the manuscript for them, they always are interested in how many people will be interested in this book and how many folks will read it, those kinds of things. And so the title of my book, You Get to Say, Making Sense of Trials, Setbacks, and Negative Surprises, the publisher said, who will read this book? And I sort of laughed because I said, well, who wouldn't be interested in a book like this? All of us. At some point in our lives, either now or down the road or previously, or we know somebody that's trying to make sense of some stern challenge in our life. And we want to make sense of those things in the most productive way we can. And that's really the essence of this book, is we all will have these experiences. We'll have trials, we'll have negative surprises, we'll have difficulties, and some of them are very, very challenging. But at the end of the day, we get to say. We explain what they mean. We decide what they mean. We make them mean whatever we think they mean. So the power in this book, I believe, and the feedback I'm getting from people who have read it is that we're able to provide fresh and new ways of viewing our current challenges, or even some that we had years ago that we didn't learn from. But now looking back through a new eyes with it through a different lens allows us to see them differently and learn and have and really make them positive transitions for us in our life, those experiences that can be turned into positive experiences. And so that's the whole goal of this book, is to enable us to make positive and productive sense out of the challenges of life. And I think that's what you'll find as you read the stories and experiences in this book that will bring that kind of clarity.